Hello everyone and welcome to this very special video, because today we've got something that you've been waiting for a very long time. Something special, something awesome. And it's this, it's the Fuji International Speedway time trial that you can make £2 million on. Wow, how exciting. What an incredible update. We also got two amazing other cars as well as this Toyota. But this is the one that we're going to be using today. Medium tyres, no setups. Easy 2 million, but how do we get those £2 million? Let's tune over and find out. So onto the lap we go. Key thing with the gears, gotta rev them out. Third gear about 141, 142, 143 is when you want to change. Fourth about 180 miles an hour. As we head down into first turn, 150 board on the left hand side is the reference. As soon as that 150 board is on the left hand side of your screen, you want to brake down all the way into first gear. Now this car is a pain, it does not want to turn at all. So don't worry too much if you don't hit the apex like me, because you want to keep the minimum speed up and you want to get on the power early, because it's got a big old turbo that has lots of lag. So you want to be in that boost range. So here, get on the power early, come off ever so slightly because the car starts to rotate too much when the turbo kicks in, but it means that I get a better exit speed for turn 2. Now turn 2, 100 meter board on the right hand side is your reference. As soon as that goes off your screen, you want to brake down into third gear for this turn. You can knock it down into second if you feel you're not getting quite that turn in, but it's nice to carry some extra speed, and certainly you want to be exiting in third. But the key thing here is this pole, just like turn 1, you must not touch, but you need to get as close to it as you can to really open up the corner. So it can be a bit tricky here. I was inches away from touching this forbidden pole, but luckily I survived. On the power nice and early, you can run all the way onto this red curbing. You can go even wider than me here. As long as you've got 2 wheels on the red curbing, you are happy and sound and legal. But just make sure you back on the track here so you've got 2 wheels on the track before the curbing ends, otherwise you will be punished. Now this turn you want to keep it nice and tight, but you'll need to dab the brake just so slightly to keep the car in the middle of the track right here, just so you can cut it back nicely for the apex to be on the right hand side of the track to open up this left hand bend. Now we've just gone past the curbing on the left hand side of the screen. That is my reference for braking into this turn. As soon as that curb comes to an end, I'm braking down from third, sometimes into first. It depends if you need that extra rotation. Sometimes the car just turns, sometimes it doesn't. In this case it didn't, so I knocked it down into first just to get it to turn in a bit more. Back up to second for the exit, but you'll see here I'm on the power so early, already at 100% throttle, and I will lose the rear because the turbo starts to kick in here, gets me a bit of rotation, and I come off the throttle just to save me from dying. And that's the key to this lap. You've got to get on the power so early and play with that point where the turbo starts kicking in. That is the key, because yeah, if you get on the power too late, you won't move. You won't be in the turbo range. Here for this this tricky hairpin at the bottom, the shadow on the floor is my reference. Braking down from 4th gear all the way into first. Apex it nice and late, and again, because of the turbo lag, you get on the power so early. I'll go to 100% throttle here and the car won't really do anything. But it does get a bit of rotation here as I start to get into the turbo range, which opens up this second turn beautifully. Knock it up into second, and again, make sure you just get on the power almost too early and play with that point where the car starts to lose its rear end, because it'll really help you get around the turns. If you are waiting, always trying to keep the car in grip, you'll just understeer everywhere. But just be careful with this one, because as we leave the corner there is another forbidden pole that we must not hit, and it's really easy to hit this one because you'll want to keep the car nice and straight to keep the car glued to the floor. So just make sure you can avoid that one and head to the left hand side of the track, just here where the grass meets the AstroTurf. If you can just touch the edge of the track where those 2 points meet, it'll be the perfect entry point and braking point for this right-hander. Only want to be 50% braking here, otherwise you'll understeer too wide. Knock it down into first, just so as you get towards the bend, just to give it that extra bit of rotation. Another forbidden pole here that you mustn't touch, but you really want to get on the inside of the curbing, as I am here. It really helps the car flow around this bend. Back up into second, again get on the power as soon as you can, play with when that turbo is kicking in, and keep it nice and tight for this left-hander, and there's, it just disappears off that screen. The curbing ends and a white line on the grass appears. That's your braking marker for this bend. Again, only use 50% braking force. Come off the brake nice, and look how early I'm off the brake and already on the power, because the key is getting the car into that turbo boost range. So getting on the power nice and early. The car does give me a bit of a slide there as I get the turbo kicking in, but that means that now when it's time to go full power, I've got all the power that the car provides, rather than not being in the turbo range, which would suck and you don't move. So one more turn to go. Just flying off the screen on the right hand side, there is a little slip road. That's my reference for this final turn. As soon as that disappears off my screen, I'm braking for the final bend, down into first, back up to second for the exit, and again getting on the power really early, playing with that sliding point, and the turbo slightly kicks in there, which nearly ends my life and what would have been the lap, and revving it out all the way to fourth to finish my lap of Fuji. So as we watch the car go around again, just to reiterate some of the key points, the revs. Rev this car out a lot. You want to rev it out to 8,000 RPM. If you're on the front view, the bumper view where you get the clocks and the cams, it's about 8,000 RPM. I think the car redlines at 7, but really to gain the most you want to be all the way to 8, which is low 140s in third gear and 180 miles an hour in fourth, and that would be perfect. And if you're really struggling, I did play around with the weak ABS, and that did seem to help a bit, because the car really does struggle to turn into the bends. It's a high downforce car. It wants to be running at high speed, and the low speed turns it just hates. It really does. So yeah, it could be worth playing around with using weak ABS. Just gives you a bit of extra braking force, and it really does force you to trail brake heavily into the turn, so that can be handy. Make sure you get as close as you can to these poles. Like there's one there, just you gotta play with them, man. They're dangerous, but if you can get really close without touching, you'll gain so much time. And just make sure you get on the power so early. If you're struggling with the lap, play around, get on the power way too early, and play with that point where the car starts to slide when the turbo kicks in, because if you can master that, you'll really be able to master this car and Fuji International Raceway. But that is it for this week's track guide. But if you do want to watch more racing action, please do head over to Captain Colossus Racing on Sunday the 31st of March. That's this Sunday the 31st of March at 7 o'clock in the evening. He'll be covering this special CCR versus SIR racing event at the Red Bull Ring in the Mercedes AMG GT3. It's going to be awesome. He might have a couple of special guests on the mic with him to keep track of all the coverage to see who comes out on top. It's going to be fascinating. Both sides got really fast drivers, really clean drivers, and I think that's the real key here. Everybody really respects one another, so no matter who comes out on top, it's going to be a good laugh. So please do go over and check that out. It'd be awesome if you could join us. Just drop a like, say hello. It'd be brilliant. Support your drivers and see who comes out on top. It's going to be exciting. But yeah, that is all this week over at CCM. I don't know if we'll do a track guide. At the moment, the daily races really are not my thing. They just don't seem particularly appealing. But the one thing that was exciting, if you haven't seen already, is that Ford GT test car is the fastest car in the entire world. So yeah, go and check that out and your mind will be blown. But that is it for this week, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you later.